Breaking now on KOMO News at 5 o'clock. Another night of protests across the country and right here in downtown Seattle in the aftermath of the death of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police.
This is a live look right now at City Hall in downtown Seattle. Marchers had originally gathered at Westlake Park, then they moved into the streets and went on to City Hall. The downtown area was the scene of car fires and looting over the weekend. Now you can see these people who have gathered here. When we look from some of our aerial shots that we've had from Air 4, we have seen thousands of people coming together for a fourth night.
And KOMO's Jonathan Cho is on the move with those marchers right now. Jonathan, what's the latest there? Is there a group that's still moving, or are they all right where you are now?
Yeah, I'm right here on the steps of City Hall. Take a look behind me. Look at this massive crowd. We've been marching with them since Westlake Center here, and they have landed here at City Hall for the past, I'd say, hour now, just listening intently to the speakers. I want to emphasize again, Mary asked me earlier, is it a different crowd? Does it feel different? Absolutely. This is a crowd that's more disciplined, more organized. We have seen zero violence. We have seen zero problems. They're serious about making sure that something more comes out of this protest. They're already talking about what happens next. This is not just another day of rallying. This is not just another day of yelling and screaming. This is about planning for the next steps, the next phases. Now, what they're also trying to do after this is head to the Seattle Police Headquarters. Now, whether or not officers, by the hundreds right now, by the way, that are surrounding City Hall, I'm not sure if they're going to actually let them get to the police headquarters. Last couple of days, protesters tried to do that, and they were blocked from doing so. But for now, they're staying right here at City Hall. This is a massive gathering. Pete, I want you to show the officers right there on the steps. They're guarding City Hall. No one's going up there. But again, I've seen absolutely no problems here whatsoever. This is a disciplined crowd. This is a crowd that's committed to the messaging about George Floyd, social justice, and police reform. Again, another look at this crowd now raising fists in solidarity, chanting and clapping. That's the very latest from here, guys.
Jonathan, a powerful and inspiring sight to see. KOMO's Nick Popham is also at that rally right now. He joins us live. Nick, you were out there the last couple of nights. Would you agree that this feels somehow different tonight?
Completely different environment today, Eric. We're at 4th and Cherry, a different vantage point of the crowd that's here at City Hall. As Jonathan was mentioning, that's interesting. They're trying to head to SPD headquarters. For those familiar with the downtown area, if we go over here, SPD headquarters is on 5th Avenue. So you would have to make your way up Cherry to head to SPD headquarters. So it'll be interesting to see if that actually ends up happening. But for the most part, people have been talking about planning on heading back to Westlake Park. Obviously, as Jonathan mentioned, that seems to have changed in what the direction is. But law enforcement continues to line 4th Avenue at Cherry. So you see these biker police over here, and then police with their batons just standing, waiting to block off this road to make sure protesters continue to walk this way once they continue to do so. But again, we saw yesterday that there were blockades over at Westlake Park, but after discussing with police their intentions of what they were going to do, law enforcement ultimately let them through those barricades and through those blockades, and they were able to march where they wanted to go and eventually make their way back to Westlake Park. So it'll be interesting to see what takes place over at this demonstration, but obviously, as Jonathan has mentioned, incredibly peaceful, a completely different environment from the chaos that we saw on Saturday.
That is good to see, Nick. Thanks very much. Right now, KOMO's Joel Moreno is also live at that rally in downtown Seattle. Joel, tell us what you see from your vantage point.
Well, they've had a change of speakers in just the last couple of minutes. A couple of people have taken the megaphone that have talked about some of their own family members or close friends who have been oppressed by the police or unfairly treated, some even perhaps shot. They also just took to their feet. They were, a lot of the people, most of the people here had been on their knee here on 4th Avenue, and they have just stood up as an entire body here. And so we're not sure if that means that they are getting ready to move again, but they are back up and listening to the speakers right now. They are really talking about speaking out repeatedly, day after day like this, because they say if they fall silent, things will never change. They want to keep this momentum going, keep this energy up, and they say that it's the only way that they're ever going to make a difference is to keep getting this message out. And we have primarily heard people saying that the way to do it is through peace and through gathering and through calling out what's wrong in society. One man was talking about how there's been 400 years of oppression against African Americans, and they have been raped and shot and enslaved. And when they talk about collateral damage, when they talk about keying a police car, they say there's no comparison to what they have done compared to what is being done to them. And they say that now is the time to stand up and continue this fight. They say that they have the attention of America right now. They want to do something positive with it. A few of the speakers have said that turning violent will only muddy that message. They want to keep it clear. And so we're fully expecting this to go well past the curfew. There's been no indication where I'm at what people plan to do, but with curfew being just a short time from now, it doesn't look like anybody's ready to give up. They say they need to keep this going, maybe throughout the night. So we'll see how that goes.
Hey, Joel,
Mary?
It's Eric. Can you describe the demographic for me? Are these young people, old people, black, white, brown? What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, young people, I'd say 20s to 30s, maybe some 40 years old. Just take a look around here. There's kind of a variety of ethnicities. It is Seattle. There's a lot of white faces as well. But I'd say that it's pretty well mixed, considering, the demographics in Seattle to start with. But they seem very intent on listening to these speakers, and you do see a pretty good representation. I haven't seen any families with kids or anything like that. Although there is a young girl up on the steps here if we just turn around wearing a mask. But that's one of the first youth that I've seen since we've been out here. But yeah, young people to be sure, Eric.
All right, Joel, thank you very much. Great to see. Seattle police estimate that about 10,000 people showed up at Saturday's protests downtown. That day alone, police made 57 arrests for things like burglary, assaulting an officer, and failure to disperse. 6 police officers were told were hurt on Saturday, none of them seriously. The Office of Police Accountability says it's investigating 12,000 complaints about police officers' use of force over that weekend.
Protests also happening in other local cities today. This is in Tacoma's People's Park, where hundreds of people came together with the chant, Black Lives Matter. Organizers of this protest told demonstrators to go home if they were there to riot. And our crews are live in Kirkland tonight, where businesses were told to board up their windows by 1 o'clock. And you can see these 2 men standing here. Our photographers told us there have been a couple dozen people like this, armed with handguns and rifles. They have told us they are supportive of protests, but will interfere to stop any looters.